Okay. Hello everyone. So today is day one of our annual Innovation Festival, and it really is an honor to be sitting next to Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, who is the head of the Gift of the Givers Foundation. So the theme for this year is Act Local, Think Global, Innovate Durban. And how fitting it is to be seated next to Dr. Sooliman to hear about his fantastic journey with the Gift of the Givers, and just to get some inspiration from him and to hear his story. Dr. Sooliman, thank you so much for joining us today. It really is an honor to have you at this year's Innovation Festival. So I think just to begin with, we all understand that your journey began in 1992. We've read about your story. I think everyone knows some of the details around how it started. But today we're speaking to an audience of young innovators, entrepreneurs, those who are starting off in their business journey, some who are starting off in their innovation journey. And I think it's crucial for them to hear your story and how it all began, just to inspire and motivate some of the thinking around this journey that you had begun.
Thank you very much for the interview, and congratulations to all the innovators and all those people who are striving. In life, it's important to strive to be the best you can according to your own disposition. Never give up. To try giving up, if you give up, that's failure. To try and not succeed, that is success. And it's important that innovators, achievements cannot be done overnight. Its success comes to striving, constant trial, constant error, and one day you will get a product that you'll be truly proud of. It reminds me of, children at school too. That when they strive, and some of them don't do well in matric, and finally they excel at varsity in something that they love. It's about having passion. Passion is something in what you're innovating that will take you a long way. It is this passion that drives me in Gift of the Givers. It's something that drove me to a teacher in Istanbul. It happened in August 1991. I was told to go to Istanbul. Somebody advised me to visit a teacher in Istanbul. My wife and I went for the first time in August 91. We came to a Muslim spiritual holy place with a Sufi master. What we saw was eye-opening. We saw people of all religions, all colors, all classes, all countries, people who had diverse thoughts. People who said we don't believe, people who were Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, people who were just inquisitive, wanting to know what's going on. We saw the place, we saw love in the place, we saw discipline in the place, we saw respect in the place. I was very motivated, and so was my wife. But I was fortunate to go back the following year. It was a Thursday night, the 6th of August, 1992. 10 p.m., after a religious program, the spiritual master looks me in the eye. He's sitting in the corner of the room. I'm sitting this side. He looks heavenward and he looks at me at the same time. And he says in fluent Turkish, "My son, I'm not asking you. I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin. Translated, it means Gift of the Givers. You will serve all people of all races, of all religions, of all colors, all classes, all cultures, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. In fact, in what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, expect to get a kick up your back. If you don't get a kick up your back, regard it as a bonus. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. And remember, the dignity of man is foremost. So if someone is down, don't push them down further. Hold them, elevate them, lift them. Wipe the tear of a grieving child. Caress the head of an orphan. Say words of good counsel to a widow. These things are free. They don't cost anything. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, and provide water to the thirsty. And in everything that you do, be the best at what you do. It's like innovation. Be the best at what you do, not because of ego, but because you're dealing with human life, human emotion, and human dignity. He went on to say, this is an instruction for you for the rest of your life. And then he said, the most important thing I'm going to tell you now, that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. It's a spiritual thing. And then I asked him at some point, I said, how come when you speak Turkish, I understood every single word that you said, yet I don't speak Turkish? He said, my son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable. And then I asked him, You've told me all these things to do. What exactly do you want me to do? I'm a doctor in private practice. I have 3 surgeries in Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. He just told me one line. You will know. And in 28 and a half years, I do know what to do, when to do, and how to do.
That is amazing, Dr. Sooliman. You know, you touched on so many important points in what you've just said, but I just want to know, I think it was you were 30 years old
Yes.
when he gave that message to you. How did you feel at that point? I mean, you were a young man, you had 3 surgeries, you're a medical doctor, but how did you feel when someone is telling you now to basically change the course of what you were doing, but not directly, really leaving it to you to change that course and make that decision?
When I went there the second time, I knew I wanted to get involved in something spiritual. So my mind was pre-planned for something, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't expect an instruction. I wasn't expecting to form an organization. I was expecting to be guided in my life. That's what I went for, not to get instruction to form an organization. But at that point, I was basically numb in inverted commas because, okay, he told me this. Is this something I do in the weekends, after hours, long weekends, holidays, school holidays? When do I do that? Because I got 3 surgeries. And then to hidden outline it to say, start Monday morning, you know, and you just carry on like this and sell your practices. He didn't say anything like that. He just said, you will know. And because I went there with a mind to accept what was said, because once you're a disciple of a spiritual teacher, you follow to the letter. And I said to myself, what God wills will happen. And as the days unfolded and the years unfolded, it came to me, as I said, you will know. And then in June 1994, actually my wife called me while I was in Bosnia. She said, I think we should close your surgeries. This is not working out. The patients don't want to see your locums. They don't want to see anybody else. They only want to see you. And I'm getting afraid that children are sick for a long time and they're not going to another doctor. They rather find another doctor. They rather know that you're not available anymore. And on the spot, I mean, normally you have to think, make a decision, look at the figures. I said yes. It was something meant to be. And we still don't regret the decision. Because as things unfolded, you can't do 2 professional jobs at the same time. You know, that's for the innovators. Whatever you do, do something simple, but be professional at what you do. Rather let it take longer, but make it really, really something worthwhile and substantial.
Yeah, no, that's actually excellent advice for our innovators, and I'm really grateful that you've imparted that to them. Just something else that, you know, as Innovate Durban, we often encourage mentorship or some sort of guidance from someone else to be imparted to these innovators, because they're young and they want to learn. They're hungry for knowledge, hungry for information. You've mentioned your spiritual leader, and I'm also aware that you do have another spiritual leader in your life and guiding you at present. What do you feel the role of mentors play within your journey, but also in the journey of other entrepreneurs and young people who are trying to make it in life?
There's no better teacher than experience. Why reinvent the wheel? True. Why spend years of trying to find something when it's already done? Yeah. Follow the path of somebody who's already walked the path. They can show you where the stones are, where the obstacles are, where the difficulties are. It just makes your life so much easier. But to follow that path requires faith, requires commitment, requires sincerity, and requires passion. Yeah. And you have an ear for understanding and patience, and you're prepared to learn. You have to commit yourself fully to the mentor that you believe it can teach you. If your ego comes in the way and you think you know more than the mentor, don't start. Rather carry on your own. Yeah. But if you want to learn, the most important thing is to annihilate ego. Like he said, whatever comes through you and not by you. From a spiritual point of view, your achievement is not your own achievements. I'm giving my point of view now. It's by God's grace. Because man on his own can only do what he wants because God guides him to do that. And if you understand that from the beginning and you have a humble approach, you'll be a great learner. And one day a great learner becomes a great teacher.
That is such good advice. You know, I'm a strong, personally as well, I'm a strong believer of God's will and favor in my life. And it's also something that I try and teach others. So what you've said is just so true. And just, you know, being able to be humble in everything that you do. Humility is such an important part of being a great leader. And I just love what you said about being able to learn. A learner will become a great leader, will become that inspiration to others. And I think you've lived that life We've seen it through the gift of the givers and the work that you've done. And that is why I constantly say you're an inspiration to everyone that's listening and to myself as well. So thank you for that. Just a bit about how you've made it work. And, we're all about innovation as Innovate Durban. But just to know, when you started Gift of the Givers, I'm sure it was not easy, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it was not easy. And I'm sure it had to start somewhere. We are very aware that, within getting a business to work properly, networks are extremely important. Relationships actually are vital. Can you just tell us a bit about how you started and getting this network together, a network of donors, of responders? Your business works so well. It just all comes together so well. And so I just want to understand, it's just also for our innovators to understand, because we often encourage them to collaborate. We always say collaboration is key, but just your take on that.
I got an advantage, because the spiritual teacher said, you will never have to look for money.
Yes.
People will come to you. But part of that advantage is being committed and sincere to your goal, or what you've set out and what you've agreed to. And of course, I did projects before Gift of the Givers. In 1990, I responded to a crisis in Mozambique. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, all projects in the north of Mozambique collapsed. And people wanted requirements for boreholes, they wanted malaria medication, they wanted support hospitals, they wanted for food. That time I was part of the Islamic Medical Association. And I said, let's go and see for yourself. Now, you can't learn in an office. My teams know you have to be on the ground, you have to go out to experiment.
Yes.
So, and to be honest, nobody can teach me my work. Because I've done it from the beginning right till the top. I set up the projects, I do everything myself.
Yes.
So I know every aspect of the organization in every way. You have to do that yourself. You have to understand the process. So I went there and I said, okay, you need customs clearance, you need a place, you find reliable people on the ground, you need what's required, how to get it across shipping. I did that. And there was some marketing around that. People came to know I got that involved in that. Then the Gulf War came. Something similar, we got involved, we did something. Then the cyclone in Bangladesh came. Then I spoke to government, got a ship from there, a naval ship, took to Bangladesh, and it's on that trip that I met the spiritual master for the first time.
Okay.
And thereafter, we also have another advantage, because from the Muslim community, which initially supported me, were the first backers, as part of the religion, you have to give charity.
Yes.
God says, if you don't give charity, you don't worry about your neighbor, your fellow man, it doesn't matter what religion the person belongs to. As long as it's humankind, if you don't show mercy, please don't come and pray, because I don't need your prayer. I need the prayer to teach you to help somebody else.
Yes.
So that was an advantage. And then over the years, of course, as we grew and we diversified our projects and international travel and international disasters, media started traveling with us. And people could see this was not a sectarian organization. It was what the teacher said, serve everyone unconditionally. And with that, more and more people started following us. Then we decided to focus more on the marketing locally. Although we were doing local stuff, but it wasn't so highlighted. So in 2016, I decided to kill all marketing for international projects. Although I didn't kill the project, I just killed the marketing. And 2017, the first big project was Nizana. And since the fire.
Yes.
And since then, media for local projects, corporates for local media projects have been taking a much bigger view. And then we got the Day Zero in 2018 in Cape Town, 2019 the drought in Makanda and in Eastern Cape, 2020 the biggest one for us, intervention in COVID-19. And that country and the world followed us, and still following us. And it was just finding the right project. And it's not about finding the project for the sake of making somebody happy.
Yes.
It's about doing what is right. Because we do a lot of projects which don't get any coverage at all, and it doesn't matter to us. As long as we are doing the right things and you're benefiting people, it's karma. It comes back in a positive way in some way or the other.
No, definitely. And just on what you've done, during the pandemic, COVID-19. Obviously, we've read about the work that you've done, and it's amazing work. So really, hats off to you and the team around that. But just in terms of doing something during such a difficult time where there was national lockdown, and so there was not a lot of room to maneuver in. How were you able to gather people around to respond to such a huge crisis, one that we've never faced before? How were you able to respond to that?
I've got full-time teams. I don't need volunteers, because I prefer full-time people, because we disaster specialists.
Yes.
So in my team, everybody must know in their sleep what to do, and they really know what to do in their sleep. Right? And I have people who are fearless, who have passion. They're not afraid of COVID or anything else. They know they got a job to do. And during COVID, those teams, without exaggeration, work 365 days a year, Monday to Sunday, long weekends, Easter weekend, Eid Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. And they worked throughout because they knew people needed that. And they went into areas. It's a simple rule. Wear your mask, don't touch your face, keep the social distancing, make sure you sanitize, and when you finish, touch 100 food parcels and 100 people, if they come and touch you, there's nothing you can do about it. People should do that with love. You can't push them away. So when they do that, all you do is make sure you sanitize before you touch any part of your face. And fortunately, up till today, everybody has been fine. They delivered the food parcels. We delivered 320,000 food parcels. We supported 100 soup kitchens. We supported 210 hospitals with PPEs. We delivered 2,500 CPAP machines in 10 days in 6 provinces. We set up tents in 37 hospitals, or 37 tents in hospitals, triage tents. We did thousands of tests. We did a whole range of things, built balls and delivered just in water tankers, 600,000 liters of water a week. That's just some of the things that we did in COVID-19.
Yeah. I just love the fact that you keep going back to humanity and that love for humanity. So even though we were faced with such a crisis, humanity still came first, and that love for people, that respect for for your fellow human. So often, we're so afraid during this pandemic to touch someone else or to be near someone else. We've got to respect social distancing and so on. But you still adhered to those basic principles on which the Gift of the Givers was founded, and that you've never lost sight of that. And I think that's important also as an entrepreneur and as an innovator, that we often have these ideas and these innovations, these wonderful ideas, in fact, and we know why we want to set up our business initially. But somewhere down the lines, often we lose that vision. We get caught up in so many different things that we lose that vision of why did we set this up? Why did we begin this journey? And I love the fact that you've continued with that from the beginning. You've never lost or forgotten that instruction from your spiritual leader, and you've embedded that into your team. Just on teams and how your operation works, and just for our innovators, in fact, and I'm sure they would love to hear. You've obviously got a really well-functioning organization. And just in terms of innovation and the systems and tools that you use, I also read in another article about you that you know everything that's happening in your organization. Every project, everything.
That's why I got 4 phones.
Exactly, he's got 4 phones. Do you sleep at night?
Everybody asks me that question. Yes, I do sleep. Okay. And I have a very good sleep because I don't need to sleep much. For lockdown, from the 15th of March up till today, I've been sleeping 4 hours a day.
Gosh.
Right? And even when you sleep, it's a peaceful sleep to give your mind rest, but your subconscious mind is awake because you've got projects not in South Africa, you've got them all over the world. When that phone rings, nobody's going to phone you that part of the morning unless it's something urgent.
Yes.
So your mind has to be slightly awake, so when that phone rings, you can take the call or take the message. Yeah. So yes, it's all credit goes to the team. And as part of innovation, you give people the opportunity to do things and make the mistake. Yeah. The only way you're going to learn is by making the mistake. Yes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. Success comes from failure. You learn. It's not actually a failure. It's a lesson. Okay, this doesn't work. That's not failure. You say, okay, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Okay, this one's got to work. It's a process. Yes. It's not failure. It's learning. On the process. We've changed things around, okay? Should we do things this way? No, we shouldn't do things this way. We should change it this way. In disaster intervention, should we send medical teams first? Afterwards, no, send our search and rescue teams first. Do we send the search and rescue teams first and the medical teams afterwards? But the third side, no, you can't do that. Send the search and rescue teams with some of the medical teams. Combine it. So you learn as you go along. And the only way you can do that, I told you, you don't sit in the office. Yes. You go outside and you see on the field firsthand what the practical aspect is. We got project managers, we got a corporate manager, his only job is to sit and talk to corporates and to government. That's his job full time. He started off alone, we gave him an additional person, we gave him a second person, and we gave him a third person, just to cope, because that thing grew. I'm not into the IT guy things. We old people, we don't know how to do that kind of stuff. My son came to me, he said, your IT things all behind time. You need to do things differently. Again, it's not about innovation, it's about positive intervention into change things for the better. Right? Everything's not innovation. It's just the correct intervention. And he said, I think we did our own social media team. One person in his office will never be able to cope with the amount of projects we got. And the way the technology is changing, that person won't know all the new changes that's happening all the time. So you need a company that has the technology which is innovating all the time and how to adapt it to your situation. He said, okay, we got 4 to 5 people a day working on our social media pages now, right? We contracted it out. We had to adapt into something different.
Yes.
Then we said, okay, every province was running separately. And then we decided, no, this warehouse that you're seeing now was bought in August last year. We decided to centralize the entire operations for the whole country, to manage the warehousing, to manage the administration, to manage the finances, to manage the teams, everything from Pietermaritzburg, because this is our head office.
Yeah.
And make smaller warehouses all over the country just to keep emergency supplies and bring all the trucks from here to run all over the country. The other thing about the teams is, as I said, they're allowed to do what they want. Don't say, do this. But I tell you, I'm in the field here and it's not like what you're telling me to do. It's different here. It can't work like that. Tell them, you're in the field, what do you need? I need this, that, and the other. You allow each person to grow by themselves. And that's the best way of development. It's project management, but you allow the human spirit to grow, and they come back and say, Doc, I did this. I said, very good, you did an excellent job. And you learn, but you allow other people to develop, and that's the strength of the organization.
Yeah. Sure, that's so well said, and it's also just about adapting to your environment. Like you said, you can't sit in the office and be able to tell someone this is what you need to do on the ground. You need to be in that situation on the ground. But I also think, I love what you're saying about allowing people to develop on their own, making their mistakes. Sometimes people feel that or see failure as being something so negative, but it's something so positive that can come out of it.
They should take the word out, failure. It's not a good, when you deal with something, it's not failure. Yes. Failure is when you stop trying. That is failure. But to keep trying is not failure. It's finding the right fit. Because this didn't come out. You know what, let's take a simple thing. The first person to bake the first cake. Can you think how that happened? Did they know, okay, I'm going to take some flour, take some egg, take the egg out from the white and the yellow, put it separately, put some caster sugar or some icing sugar, whatever. And how did he know? But the thing must have been a disaster, the first one that he made. But the idea came and it perfected, and look how cakes look today. Yeah. Birthday cake and this kind of cake and wedding cake and what kind of cake you get. It started off with practice. What trial, I'm trying again and again. If the first person stopped, maybe there'll be no cake today.
That's amazing. Just just going back to innovation, I see the Gift of the Givers also developed a very innovative, I think it's a food supplement.
Yes.
Called Sibusiso Food Supplement. Can you just tell us a little bit about how that came into being?
To be honest, that thing came purely by inspiration.
Okay.
I was in Malawi for the company that works with us in our offices. They buy groundnuts, and at that time we know that milk products causes more diarrhea. In malnourished people, it's a problem. Soya is the ideal, but soya itself doesn't taste very nice. Groundnuts itself can cause allergy. So and the idea came, why don't we put the two together? And so you put groundnuts, and the best quality groundnuts, which have low aflatoxin levels, come from Malawi. Poor countries support purchase of Malawi groundnuts, so you can help the economy in the country. Soya was imported from South America. Organic sugar came from Kenya. And you had to add the vitamin premix that came from India. So you had all the essential ingredients to put this product together, and then you made it such that it's ready to eat, doesn't require cooking, doesn't require heating, doesn't require water. Open the bottle and eat. And it's working. It hasn't been used worldwide because it's very expensive, because the content is so, quality content, and the people who need it can't afford it, right? So it has to be given out for free. So it's mostly Malawi right now, but the advantage of that for us in disasters, when you go to disasters and it floods, and there's people or some type of earthquake, and there's no access to food immediately, you can just open a bottle of this stuff and eat. So it was something that came by inspiration. It hasn't been developed further. It has to go to all the trials. We haven't done that yet because we know people can't afford to pay for it. It's too expensive, so we give it out for free.
Yeah. Sure. So that's such a perfect example of innovation.
The other innovation that we did before that, we innovated the world's first mobile hospital.
Okay.
And the first project, where the teacher said, you will know. The moment I walked out of Istanbul, the first project that came to my hand was the civil war in Bosnia. Now that's even insane. You don't start an organization in a war. You start off doing something simple. Don't start off responding to a war. And we got involved in the war. And in '92, I went twice, in August and the same month, and in November again. And in the new year in '93, I said, look, these people need health services. And we came back to South Africa. We saw containers that were used by Arms Corps. Theater, X-ray, and sterilization unit. I went to the company and built it. I said, look, if we can do 3, we can do all hospital. They said, all hospital? I said, yes, we can do the whole hospital. And we went and we brought in all the ICU people, and we brought the equipment people, and we brought the shipping people in. If the container flies in the ship, what will happen to the equipment? Put shock absorbers here, shock absorbers here. If one gets bombed out, we don't want it to depend on the other one. So make each one independent. If one gets bombed, the other 27 don't get affected, kind of stuff. And we looked at it and we innovated the world's first containerized mobile hospital. What's important about that, and for innovators, it's a product of African technology,
Yes.
built in Africa and taken to Europe. Now, South Africans and Africans believe that we can't do anything in this continent. We are way behind, we have to get everything from Europe, we have to follow them and everything else. That's because we don't have belief. Lack of belief is one of our biggest problems. The creepy crawly, it's made in South Africa. Right? So, we need to believe in ourselves. And with that belief, you can do anything. CNN filmed that hospital on the 1st of February 1994. And they said, the containerized South African mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. And he wasn't comparing a container to other containers. He was comparing a container to fixed building hospitals in Europe, because there are no container hospitals in Europe. It shows, if you put your mind down and you work together, what you can achieve. So it's not impossible, but you have to make the mistakes. You have to take the steps. You have to be patient. And important to develop or innovate something that's beneficial to mankind.
Yes.
Don't make something useless. Something that's just is frivolous. I'm quite blunt about those kind of things. And I'll give you a 30-second story. The king in one area said, who can come up with something very innovative? So a lot of people can, I'll give you a whole bag of gold. So everybody came and did all the things. One guy came from a distance, he threw the thread. It went through and into the eye of the needle. The king said, very innovative. You'll get the bag of gold and you'll get 100 lashes also for wasting time with something so invaluable. It's not invaluable, something so useless. Yes, it was good, you got it through, but it's useless. So when we focus on doing something, you develop something benefits mankind, with it comes a blessing. When people benefit from what you do, that benefits people.
And with that, I'm going to close, actually. I think you've answered all my questions and given me so much more than what I had initially thought I would get and asked for. So thank you so much. I think that advice that you've given to innovators, and the reason I'm ending there is because I want our innovators to remember what Dr. Sooliman said about believing in yourself. I think that's such an important point to end off, or note to end off on, just believing in yourself. But also, don't just innovate for the sake of innovating. And I know we always say that, but just hearing Dr. Sooliman speak today just reinforces that. Believe in yourself, have respect for others, dignity. Remember your vision. Remember why you set up or created what you've created, why you're an innovator, why you've left everything else to begin or to embark on this journey. And I think Dr. Sooliman has imparted so many incredible words of wisdom to us, and let's learn from this journey. Not everyone's journey is the same, but I think we can really learn from this incredible man and his story and his journey. So hats off to you, Dr. Sooliman, your amazing team. I think you've done such a fabulous job. We can only learn from your humility as well. I'm humble sitting next to you, and really it's an honor to be interviewing you today. Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And all the best, all the success with all innovators. All the best to you, all the best for the conference, and I hope in life all of you succeed.